Hey, welcome back to the garage, everyone. All right, we've got another little sideline project. This thing's been laying around the shop for a couple of years now, and I'd really like to put it to use. This is an old Graco air hose reel. I'm not sure when it was manufactured, but it is a model 203719, manufactured in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Serial number 6C, as in Charlie, 8. The swivel is leaking, and I believe it is missing a. I believe there's supposed to be a C clip right here, and it is. It appears to be missing. So we'll need to address that. The air hose itself has a big gaping hole in it right there, so we need to clip that off and do a repair job on that. This is 3/8 hose. It's Goodyear stuff. If I had to take a stab at, I would say this hose has been on here for a very, very long time. I think maybe I can just repair this and just keep on using this original hose. So as you can see, the retractable mechanism does work just fine. So really, I just like to repair this thing, maybe slap a coat of paint on it, put it on the wall, and start using it. All right, first thing I'm going to do is remove this bracket. It is in the way. See if we can't get some lubrication on there. And we'll pull out our handy impact driver. Hey, look at that. They're already loose. All right, so that's what your tag looks like right there. Pretty nifty. I like old tags on vintage equipment. Question is, how does this come off here? All right, get our screws out of the way. Let's flip this thing around. All right, since there's no C-clip here, yep, it just comes right off. Let's take that off. 3/8. Hey, look at that, good guess. All right, we got our bracket off. Well, that was pretty simple. So what we've got here is some, I think really all we're going to have to do to fix this thing up is to replace these O-rings here. So we have, let's see, we have one there, and we have one here, and I'm assuming there's supposed to be one back there, but there doesn't appear to be one. Let me cut those out of there and clean that up a little bit and give us a little better idea of what we're dealing with. That one's not too bad. That one is completely shot. At first I thought it was one of those square type bushing rings, but then I realized that it had just been worn down flat, which is pretty funny. And then there should be one that goes in the back there, I'm assuming. I'll get some of that embedded greasy dirt out of the groove there. That looks a little chewed up to me, but we might be able to make it work. All right, I'll show you what we're dealing with here. I'm not too sure what happened there, but somebody got in there and boogered that thing up. And this hose, it's pretty comical, really. I'm gonna replace this end here. I'll have to get a crimping tool or something and fix that up. This end of the swivel, Man, that looks gnarly down in there. I have to get after that with a file or something. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, that's what they make O-rings for, folks. All right. Let me see if I can get this detached from here and so I can clean this up. I'll take this swivel off. You know, I may end up replacing this. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I might be able to fix it, but we might replace it as well. All right, I'll be back. All right, we cleaned up this thing a little bit. I got some real fine 1500 grit down inside the bore. It's pretty smooth. My only worry is that little problem right there. Hopefully it won't interfere with the O-rings. The threads on the NPT threads look okay. And I just got the dirt and the crud off of the air pipe here, so nothing wrong with that. Let's see about getting some O-rings back on this, and we'll get this fitting back together temporarily to see if we fixed this leak. All right, I've got a little air tool oil there. Came with one of my air tools a while back. Finally putting it to good use. Yes, I oil my air tools. Trying to find an O-ring. Let me try a bigger size from Mr. Dorman's kit. All right, we got some O-rings on there. I found a little C-clip lying around in the shop. Tape, we'll put a little tape on here. Just a smidgen. All right, let me get an adjustable wrench. And let's see, this needs to be like that. Let's give it one more turn. Two more turns. What could go wrong? You need to get it straight. It's not rocket science, folks. If this works, I will be utterly shocked. That won't work. Other quarter of a turn. Because you're not too bright. He's not too bright. That should be a song. He's not too bright, but he enjoys himself anyway. All right, so let's put the other end on next. You don't need a whole heap and gob of this stuff, folks. Are you supposed to go in the direction of the tightening or the direction of the loosening? I can't remember. Does it really matter? It's just air. It's just air. All right, that's good enough. All right, where's the tappy tap tap device? This thing sure is rattly. Has he ever done this before? No. If I'd done it before, I probably wouldn't be doing it because it wouldn't be any fun. Huh, those O-rings might be too big. All right, now, let's see if we can get this C-clip on there. Let me go get some channel lock. This is actually an El Cheapo C-clip from another El Cheapo fitting, and I robbed it. It's just a piece of spring steel. That's all it is. Doesn't have those little eyelets on it. All right, so I know that there is a leak on the other end of the hose, so let me get some electrician's tape and try to stave off that leak before our test. All right, I've got a big gaping hole here. Really, all I want to do is see if we fixed the leak here, and then we'll worry about the leak in the hose later. I have another Goodyear hose. I suppose I could just install the new hose temporarily. I kind of like this old red hose with the white stripe on it. I don't know what the white stripe is for. I just think it's cool. Okay, we're going to put some air on this thing and see what happens. All right, we're going to be kind to our recent hack job. I set my air regulator down to 80 psi. I had it on 100. There's no real need for that for this test. So I'm going to plug air in on this side, and we're going to spray some soapy stuff here and see if we fixed our leak. Now you may hear some air coming out of the leak on this hose. That's fine, don't worry about that. I just want to make sure I fixed this leak here. So, and again, I may not have, so we're going to find out though. Here goes nothing. I hear air coming out of the end of the hose, which is fine. Woo! I hear a lot of air coming out of the hose. Electrician's tape doesn't work, folks. All right, I've tried 8 ways from Sunday to try to make this not leak, and it's not going to happen. So, we're going to have to try to find a replacement part for this guy and this guy. This may not be original. We got one side off. Might as well take the other side off and make sure we get this thing cleaned out really well. And wouldn't you know it, our ugly wrench just happens to have a 1 3/8 on the other end here. So that is what we're going to go with. And that works. Try that again. Of course, there's a snap ring involved. And the whole thing is turning. All right, let me get my snap ring pliers. All right, I've got to get underneath it. There we go. Yay me! We got some spacer washers. Looking for any and all experts on 1950s and 60s Graco hose reels. Might be 70s, I don't know. So let me do some head scratching. I've got the C-clip off the other side. We're going to go ahead and unscrew this. Hopefully the whole thing won't fly apart on us. Threads look good. I'm taking this apart because, well, why not? All right, so there's your center. I'm going to call it an air pipe, for lack of a better word. And that is what, I don't know, 50 or 60 years of corrosion will do. So I'm going to get all of that, because really that'll just get in your air tools, right? So we're going to clean this piece up really well, and luckily the threads are in good shape, and there appears to be some oil in there. It was pre-oiled at the factory, I'm assuming, or greased or whatever. So this piece will get cleaned up. It's in good shape. Woo! Yeah. Yep, it fell apart all right. I don't want to take this spring up in here apart, because that just leads to a whole bunch of other complicated things. And the spring in here is working fine. I don't want to mess with that. But I do want to clean this. All right, more later. I'm going to have to do some more head scratching. Let me hit this with some brake clean. Wow, that is nasty. I'm gonna have to mop my floor now. Okay, well, I guess it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just air. But I've got a ways to go. All right, I'm not gonna bore you with this, folks. I'm gonna clean this up some more, and I'll be back with you here in a little bit. All right, one of the threads on the end was a little bit, had a little burr on it. I had to dig it out with this. So we're now able to screw this guy back into place. All right, that's tight enough for now. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take this thing apart. You knew this was gonna happen, right? I should have done this to start with, but I just didn't want to take the whole thing apart. Hey, look at that. I think this is the little, the cam that stops the reel. When you pull back on it briefly and you want it to stop and it catches, I think that's what this is. Why don't you know? Because I've never done it before, that's why. All right. And what do we, okay, I guess you would call this the hub. It kind of looks like a hub, you know, out of a car. I feel some roughness inside there, but it's just packed full of grease. This flange is attached to this. This is the spring inside here. Really, I just wanted to see kind of how this thing worked. So I guess it's basically just an immense spring, like, you know, like what's in a watch. There's the spring down in there. That's kind of cool. Okay, enough of that. Not getting into there because the spring works. What wasn't working was the latch, because when I took the cover off earlier, the latch became discombobulated and would not function. So I have to reinstall this in a fashion in which it will recombobulate itself and work properly. Let's see, that doesn't move. That moves. Now, how does that sit? See, I'm going to have to figure this out now. All right, so the hub, and you know, whether or not you're interested in this at all, I really don't care. I am. And you see that that recess right there engages with this roll pin in the end of the spring. So when you install it, all you have to do is line those two up and it works. Now, got to get that reel back on, properly engaged with this so that the stop mechanism works. All right, got that reel cover back on. Just long enough to look inside and see how everything worked. The stop mechanism is just a little cam, and it just comes right out, and you bolt it back in place. That was fairly traumatic. I don't ever want to do that again. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to try to clean this up a little more, get some O-rings on there, and get it back in service. I picked out some International Harvester Red. That is the closest thing I could find, so we'll go with that. But for right now, let's get our bare surfaces prepped and ready for a top coat. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. All right, just a dust coat now. All right, back out here to check on our final coat, and I'm kind of digging that. That International Harvester Red from Krylon, I kind of like that. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind for some upcoming projects. So we'll let this dry a little longer, then we'll put it back on the spring framework. All right, we got the reel back on the spring assembly. The rest of this, what we'll do is we'll do some brake clean and some rags and maybe just a little hand sanding. And we'll clean this up a little bit, and we'll put the same color paint on the rest of it before we put this thing into service. But we got this kind of a tricky, really. It's kind of tricky to get the latching mechanism back into place. This bolt is attached to a couple of cams in here and this odd shaped piece of metal. And you've got to get it all situated just right before you bolt this thing down. So that was a little challenging, but we overcame. Not a huge deal. But the latching mechanism working properly. And I'm waiting on my big O-ring, man. So the air fitting here, I was going to replace the big O-ring, but I didn't have one. So I ordered some from our favorite online retailer, and it should be in here shortly. So let's go check the mail, shall we? I ordered a set of O-rings, and they're green, which, hey, that's got to be better, right? So anyway, I didn't have a large one. That was what I was waiting on. So got a big one in here for this connection into the hose reel, and we got a couple more here for the air inlet, or air outlet, I should say. I had some black ones on here, but they were a little too narrow. I think these are a little wider, and they fill up that gap a lot nicer. So we're going to get this in place. I'm going to get a little air tool oil on there. And this is a 1 1/8. It doesn't have to be tremendously tight. We have an O-ring. So next up, we have to reinstall the steel air hardline and the swivel mount. So stand by. Let me go get a hose and I'll be right back. All right, so we're tightening up the bracket here. And I forgot to pre-wind the reel earlier. So I pre-wound the reel, and I've disconnected this, pre-wound the reel, reconnected it. So anyway, now I'm gonna get this bracket on here. And we're going to find out whether or not I pre-wound the reel far enough. So let's find out. First thing I'm going to do is straighten this hose out and get some of the kinks out of it, and then we'll try to wind it up. So stand by. Here goes nothing. I've got the hose kind of spread out over there. So let's give this thing a try. All right, let's turn the air back on. I got it on about 60. I don't want to overtax it. So here's the end. And that thing doesn't like 60. Let's crank it up. All right. I think we're good to go. I had this end on there, and my airflow wasn't really good. So this thing's pretty old. So I thought, well, let me change it. And I had a new one in the drawer, and man, that thing kicks butt. Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Before too long, we'll be ready to mount this thing on the wall and put it to work. So, hey, listen, that's all for now, folks. Appreciate you guys stopping by my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys take it easy now. See you later.